Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Beacons Are Lit, a Lord of the Rings podcast. I'm the host, Mike Marback, and today I am joined by Stacey Lyons.
Hello.
Matt Guerin.
Hey there.
And Kelly Conrad.
Hello.
Yeah, we're here to talk Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. This is part 4 of probably 8. We're going about a half hour or so at a time. Before we jump into that discussion, I do want to say that if you are listening, if anybody is listening, go to iTunes and rate and review the podcast, and we'll give you something Lord of the Ringsy. In our final episode of the Two Towers coverage, we will announce a winner. So go to iTunes and rate and review the podcast. Email us, hello@xroadscomedy. Let us know what you think of the show. Let us know what you think of Lord of the Rings. Let us know what you think of The Rings of Power, which is coming out in just about 3 months. So how about that? Speaking of, maybe this will lead into news from the mark, but they released looks of a look at the orcs. Did you see this? Did you see this, folks?
Have you heard about this? No.
Yeah. Have you heard about this? Yes. Apparently.
Have you heard the news?
Yeah. Extra. Yeah, they released some photos of what the orcs look like, and it's weird because you have the orcs, which are mythical creatures. I mean, they're all like mythical creatures, but the orcs are like creatures. And the response to the orcs has been overall very, very positive. But then you have the elves that have short hair, and everybody's so fucking angry. It's just so weird. It's so weird to me that the reactions that people have to this show. But yeah, the orcs look great. So go to the internet and look up Rings of Power plus orcs, however you search for things in 2022.
Yeah, I saw that. And I think that whole elf thing is just very silly. I think short hair is in. And so I imagine it could have been in then too, because trends repeat themselves, as we've seen with low-rise jeans and thin eyebrows. You know what I mean? Like these things come back.
There is one controversial point to this that is getting the idiots, the bros, the Lord of the Rings bros, scumbags up in arms, and that is that they've confirmed female orcs are in the show.
That.
What? Are you kidding me?
Orcs are supposed to have dicks.
Yeah, which is so weird to me because it means that these people would accept that orcs breed, that like they contain all sex organs and just produce I don't even know the correct terms. Which Timmery Lee,
right?
Sex with Timmery was on the podcast to talk about orc sex, but that they contain all of the parts to do everything themselves and don't need the genders or sexes. So they would be more readily to accept that than the binary, which is like the opposite of the way everything always is. It's so weird.
Right. So
I never really thought before about how orcs came about. I just accepted the puddle of goo and they were just born, and then that was it. I never really thought about the mechanics of it.
That's Uruk-hai.
Yeah.
Uruk-hai.
I thought that orcs were maybe similar, like kind of born in a similar vein.
Just mixed up in like the mud. And
just like factory style, just like spit them out of the earth.
And when you believe something like that, it makes it easier to swallow that the good guys are killing them en masse. Like kind of like with stormtroopers, when you just kind of accept them as like, these aren't real people, then the heroes that you root for can kill them all you want. It's like how in Marvel movies, they have like Chitauri because they don't want to fight. You know, they don't want Captain America like killing thousands of humans, right?
Stacey, you are just running over all fandom right now. But if anybody listens, they're all coming at us.
And so, so I'm saying like it's easier to accept that you're just killing people without families or homes or feelings.
Hordes without feelings.
And that's kind of like what I like about the orcs and why I don't think about it, because it's like, sure, if there's a million of them, let's take them all down.
So if we're gonna get a look at lady orcs, are we gonna get a look at the Entwives was a possibility? And circling into today's episode, the fabled dwarf women that Gimli jokes about. So
yeah, we do see there was photos released of a female dwarf. So we know that's been confirmed.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
One is rumored. Well, the Ents themselves are rumored because they released a promo video for the Rings of Power, which features an Ent in it. So that was my question. Like, if we have the Ents and we're thousands of years before, might we see the Ent wives?
I hope so. Representation matters for any little like Ent girls out there looking up, or Ent boys who grow up and they see these strong Ent women. It matters, you know?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I guess representation was definitely not on my mind, and maybe this is my problem when I think about orcs or urukai. that's like one kind of one race or kind of creature where I didn't even think about it,
and I thought about it.
And I think that's my problem. You know, like that's on me.
Yeah. And not that any of you are saying this, but I don't even think that. I think it's more just a creative choice. I don't even think they're doing it to satisfy any representation as far as the female orcs go. I think it's just like they're probably using something within the Silmarillion, which I downloaded the audiobook for. So I will confirm or deny what I've just said in roughly a year.
You also could have told me along that point, Kelly, like I never really thought about it either, but you also could have told me that all like orcs and urukai were non-binary, and I would have been like, yeah, sure, that
totally
makes sense.
Checks out.
They don't even. I don't see them.
Honestly, you don't even need to address it. Like, I mean, you don't even need to address how they reproduce. Just, I don't care. Like, they're bad. They're fine. Like,
let's fight them and feel okay about it.
Yeah.
I don't care. Yeah. Mike, haven't you not read the books, the Lord of the Rings books?
No, I've not read the.
And you're going to jump straight into the.
He wants to start with a Silmarillion.
Right into the deep end.
Yeah, well, I've seen the films. I get the gist, you know.
Sure.
Well, if you start with the Silmarillion, then the trilogy will probably seem like a walk in the park. So maybe that's the way to go.
I did the same thing with Game of Thrones. Well, that's not entirely accurate. I listened to the first 3 books, and then it was like the show had started passing everything at that point. And then I went back and I read the World of Ice and Fire, which is very Silmarillion-y in its history of the world of Westeros, which, by the way, Stark Ribbon Mad is coming back. So if you are a Game of Thrones fan, you'll be able to listen to Stark Ribbon Mad as we cover House of the Dragon starting in August. And there is also news about a sequel to Lord of the Rings starring Kit Harington coming back as Jon Snow.
Yeah, so we don't need that. We need Arya's side story. Yeah, we don't need Jon Snow's story. We did it. It was done.
I don't know why, especially after they screwed up his story royally, literally, throughout that last 2 or 3 seasons. But it seems like HBO is doing everything they can to not do the ones that the fans really want. First, it was the Long Night. People were like, oh, yeah, let's see the beginning of everything. And they're like, scratch it. The Arya one, everybody keeps asking for. Everybody keeps asking for Robert's Rebellion, a full story with those actors telling those stories. And
these fans are not quiet. It's not that they're like on a secret, like dark website, like being like, wouldn't this be nice? They're there. They've been shouting it for years.
Yeah, since 20 minutes after the series ended. Man,
and you know what? I'm going to say, I don't know him and he doesn't know me, but I'm going to say Kit Harington doesn't need to do this either. Let the role go. He seemed very troubled when it ended. He looks like he's got a beautiful new baby and a wife. Just move forward with your life.
Budding Marvel career.
Yes, get some new roles. Look into rom-coms, Kit, might I suggest.
Oh, well suited for a rom-com.
I
wasn't sure where that was going.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, that O was very ambiguous. No.
So Kit Harington, if you're listening, you don't have to live like this.
Not to derail the Kit Harington conversation, but I'm looking at some of these orc pictures here. And,
how hot are the female orcs?
They got 3 boobs.
I'm looking at the regular dudes. I don't see any female orcs. One of them looks exactly like the bad guy in Blade 2, but they're all pretty dry. they're pretty dry orcs.
Like
I don't know
dry
about you
skin?
guys, but I like my orcs real wet. I like their skin real glistening and soggy looking. These orcs bone dry looking.
Like them
These are
soggy bottom
desert
orcs.
orcs.
No,
I don't know what's going on here.
I'm glad
That's
you
like
bring up
rubbing
wetness.
Vaseline on.
Yeah.
Matt, I'm glad you bring up moisture in characters today, because that's something I would like to cover
Looks good.
when we talk about Wormtongue. Yeah, it looks fine.
Oh, you mean the gallons of snot pouring out? of this?
Yeah, just how Wormtongue always looks wet. He
Yeah.
always looks like he's sweating, crying,
He
And
looks
and
like
like
he just got
pissing out
the-
of his pores.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
Like
he
one
just
of
got
those
half of
o-
KY jelly.
old guys with like the foam on the corner of their lips.
Ugh.
But all over his body.
Like Hooch from Turner and Hooch. No, all right.
Nope. Is that like a
Exactly.
1920s reference?
No, it's Tom Hanks movie.
That's
Did you see
it's like
Tom Hanks
Sounds-
yell at
sounds
people?
old.
80s maybe.
Did you see Tom Hanks yell at
Sold.
people?
I
Sounds
did
old.
see that. You know what? And you
It's
know,
like back the fuck off.
yeah, he did what Will Smith was trying to do. You know what I mean? But he did it without assaulting anyone.
And he's Tom Hanks.
And someone tried to knock her down. So
Yeah, they're not watching what they're doing.
that would be
All right.
exhausting to live like
So let's
that.
talk about the Two Towers, episode 4 for us. Picking up where we left off, we have the kids arriving, and what's his face? The young boy falls to the ground, and then they're inside. They were unharmed. We got wild men roaming around the Westfold, burning as they go. So what's happening here? The gist is they're trying to push Theoden into going out and meeting Sauron's forces head on, rather than fleeing to Helm's Deep. And Theoden's like, we're just going to Helm's Deep.
Theoden has just woken up from his curse, right? And he looks so fucked up. He looks like he's been in office for centuries. Like his body language is hilarious. And I'm like, dude, you've been up for like a day.
It's been hard on him. It's been a hard, weird sorcerer coma that he's been in.
He's immediately confronted by people being like, we got to go to war, dude.
Well, I mean, his
Wartime.
kid did die, so he's he's
Mhm.
having.
Yeah, his kid died. He's coming down off of his curse.
Yeah.
Maybe let's ease it up on Theoden.
That come down is hard.
Yeah.
I was gonna. I thought you were gonna say how like immediately Gandalf is like, now that Wormtongue's gone, I'm gonna like tell you what. Like Gandalf is like so like, hey Theoden, like here's exactly what you should do, and you should listen to me. Like he's putting like he puts his hand on the armrest of the throne. He might as well have just put it on like his knee, like on Theoden's
His
knee.
leg.
Like whispered in Theoden's ear. Last I checked, Theoden
Like
was king
know,
of.
let the guy think for himself, come on.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I will not risk open war. Open war is upon you, whether you would risk it or not.
He
Oof.
doesn't say that in a way that made me think that Vigo understood what the line was. He went up at the end, and I always was confused about what it meant.
Whether you
And
would
now
risk it or not.
Or
whether
not.
you would risk it or not, bro.
I'm
But
Viggo
he
Mortensen.
whether you would risk it or not, it's a game show.
and then and
is
that
it?
makes sense. But that line always confused me, and now I see.
I think we're seeing Vigo kind of fall off the rails a little bit in this today's segment. I think we're hearing some weird vocal stuff again, and I'm not sure exactly. I think
Interesting.
slightly. I think not nearly as bad as Council of Elrond, but
Cannot
you know,
nailed
like
it. None of
yeah.
us can.
nothing that bad. But I think just a little. I'm not sure where he's coming from with his choices. I guess personally.
Well, this next segment of
Okay, well.
Aragorn is very rom-commy. I mean, he is. There's a
Oh.
lot of meet cutes and a
he
lot
is
of little sides.
flirting
This
his
is
face off.
This is like Aragorn's like B story, and so I think he's just dipping his toe into new waters here.
This is like Aragorn's what I imagine his Tinder would look like. We're getting some like really nice moments. We're getting some good lines. We're getting some good like hair flips, some like good images. I'm like, oh, if this was like his
smoldering in some
Yeah.
Yeah.
scenes.
That's
Yeah.
smolder.
Lots of intense eye gazing back and forth.
yes. He's
Yep.
eating food that sucks
He
for, for the
calms
sake.
a horse.
Good.
Like I can't imagine anything sexier. back in, especially in Rohan, which is like horse land.
Yeah,
like
they're horse
that
people.
is.
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah, the
pretty hot.
horse
He's got
people are
some,
like,
he's got some
"Hey,
hot moments.
Don't even bother with this one. He's
half
too
mad."
much to handle. We're just gonna put him down. And he's like, "Hey, let's everybody calm down here a second."
There should have been a fan on him in that scene with "Take My Breath Away" playing in the background. You know what I mean?
Like slowed down as he pets the horse. Yeah.
Hungry eyes.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
We were talking about open war, and it is
Open war.
Rohan, whether they risk it or not. You got that Gimli. I think it was Stacey maybe mentioned. He's pure comic relief in this. What's the film?
Movie.
What are we talking about?
What is this medium?
I was trying to think of in this part
Sequel.
of the trilogy.
Yeah, they settle him in deep in this one.
Yeah.
They really find his footing in this one.
Gets the burp in there.
And
they
wipes
flee to
his
the
own
mountains.
mouth with his beard.
Yeah, come on.
Which,
Come on.
Sure.
They flee to the mountains when they should stand and fight. He thinks he's leading them to safety. What they will get is a massacre. So they're not on board with this plan, but Gandalf and Aragorn have the chat, and it's like you gotta handle your business. Got to make sure their defenses hold. And then he has that line, another one, which I use a lot. Maybe even more than there are no words in Elvish answers, nor the tongues of man. Look to my coming at first light on the 5th day at dawn. Look to the east. All the time.
I rewound that
all the time.
I do, yeah. Or
I rewound that
variations
scene
of it.
twice. I thought that I missed the line where he says, "Go, Shadowfax, show them the meaning of haste." And I had to look it up, and that's in Return of the King.
Yeah, that's later.
Whole different movie.
Yeah.
So if anyone's out there wondering where that line is,
Right, that's when he takes Pippin.
we'll talk in a year.
To Gondor. Yeah.
But
To the
Shadowfax
realm of Gondor.
does indeed go hastily. So
Shadowfax looks so good on camera.
he is
Very
in
photogenic.
the VIP stall at the back of the
Yes.
barn. Did you notice this? It's
Yeah.
like the width of the barn, and every other horse stall is like cordoned
The barn suite.
Yes.
I love how
Fantastic.
every once in a while Gandalf just remembers another name he used to have. He's like, Great Pilgrim. That's what they used to call me.
And he's
Gandalf
kind of
Grey.
saying that to no one.
Yeah. Hey, Shadowfax is there.
That's true.
Shadowfax
That's
speaks
true.
the native tongue.
That's true.
So yeah, he goes off to epic music.
Yeah.
Epic.
In an epic landscape.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
We have Aragorn settling the horse, which we talked about, Brago, as Eowyn looks on, complimenting his Elvish. I've heard of the magic of the elves. I did not expect to find it in a ranger from the north, something along those lines. And he says he was raised in Rivendell for a time. And then he says, set Brago free. He's seen enough. Seen enough of war.
Yeah.
If I'm Eowyn,
I love that.
I'm in love. I'm in love by
Yes.
then. You know, I've seen him from across the room. He's grabbed me. He's talked to me. But this is where I'm just head over heels.
So Stacey, I agree with you generally, right? But also, doesn't Aragorn kind of give off the vibe? I feel like we've touched on this before, of someone who has like study abroad for
Yes.
a period of time, and then they just like I think with people who say Mordor, and we're like,
But
oh, it's like someone who
Eowyn
studies
is
abroad.
also like 22. She's the audience for that. Like, if you're gonna fall in love with a guy who studied abroad and knows a lot about like your specialty,
It'll be like a young person.
It's a 22-year-old,
Yeah.
right?
I think he gives
And-
that vibe because of the hair and the scarves and the jewelry.
worldly.
And the way that he
He's like the Italian that comes over and he's like, "Oh, you think this is pizza? This is not pizza."
Yeah.
And you're like,
He's-
"Yeah,
He's
tell me
exotic.
more."
Yeah.
He's
I'll have
exotic
some
to her.
guacamole on my taco. Yeah, he's like
He's
one of those.
exotic. He's calming that horse
Mhm.
with just
Which-
his other
yeah.
language.
That
That is-
alone is like the hottest thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're calming like a very stressed out animal, like you have a superpower.
And again, look at what's around her. The hottest other person in the kingdom was her brother. and maybe her cousin, who we don't really get that good of a look at, and that's kind of it. You know,
we only saw him dead.
She just came out of Wormtongue phase, you know,
and she was kind of falling for Wormtongue.
That
maybe
was like the last guy who touched her. So
yeah,
you know,
it's not in the movies, but I'm willing to bet that Gamling always takes a run. It's always like, hey, what you doing Friday? Do we have Friday here?
Lady Eowyn.
Do you want to meet me for some mead?
I'll close your chamber door now, unless you don't want to be alone.
Yeah, I can see Gamling taking shots.
Yeah, Gamling's definitely trying. He's a tryhard.
Gamling, not in the books.
Definitely. Yeah. It's not in the book.
And apparently, Eowyn is just out there asking for all the goss on Aragorn, all of it. Anybody that wants to share a little tidbit about this or that, she's like all ears. It's like, I
mean, yeah, that's what it's like when you like someone, right? You want to hear, you just want to hear everything about them from everyone. You just want to talk about them.
Deep search. It's like, you know, I don't know if this is true or not, Aragorn, but I heard from my uncle that you were here and there, and it's like, that's crazy, right? And then he just keeps like layering on all of these I'm so cool things. So he speaks Elvish. He lived in Rivendell. He's
like almost
old.
90.
He's a descendant of
Dunedain.
Numenor, of the Dunedain clan. So it's like all these exotics.
He also makes it, no, he doesn't make it a point. I shouldn't say that, but he does make sure he knows that Eowyn's going to the Grey Havens.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, who is the woman who gave you the pendant? She's sailing off with her people. Why didn't he just be like, her name's Arwen?
Yeah. And I love her very much.
And she's the only woman I'll ever love.
Bride.
No, he mentions she's gone. And I don't think that he needed to do that necessarily.
Yeah.
So keeping his options open.
He is. And you know what? If I'm her, I'm picking up the cues. I used to think, I was like, why is she throwing herself at him? He's clearly taken. Looking back on it, no, he was not. That was not clear.
Here's my sequence with Aragorn. When he calms down that horse, I'm impressed. When he says, let that horse go, it's had too much war, I'm in love. When he tells me he's a Dunedain and has like special powers and he's 87, I'm trying to get in his sleeping bag tonight.
In his pantaloons.
Yeah, like that is
his knickers.
Gotta go.
He also, don't forget the conversation they have with the sword. He pops up out of nowhere to tell her that
got some skill with a blade.
Her deepest fear will probably not be realized, and like sees her in a way that previously only Grima had seen her, and then just like literally steps back into the shadows. And
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's laying it on thick in this part.
Yeah, and to her credit, Eowyn, it seems as if she starts playing a little bit more cool. You know, she's like fawning over him, but then we have the part that was just mentioned with the sword, where she's a little bit more like, you know, just like
on guard.
I have something to offer too. Okay, I'm not so bad myself. I'm a good catch. Those without swords can still die upon them.
Oh, good line.
So just throwing out some good things and showing off her skill, and then just kind of walking away from him.
And she's probably like projecting a little bit, because she's probably met with like a lot of people questioning who she is and what she does and her role.
Super defensive.
Yeah. So it's like, don't even go there with me. Like, I have a purpose. So it was cool to see her stand up for herself. And I'm always impressed by that move she does, even though it's like not complicated. It's so fast. The like shing. It almost looks
that
like
is sped up in.
Do you think so?
Yeah, you can kind of tell Aragorn, like his whole body moves a little faster. Like,
I was hoping it wasn't.
I'm sorry.
Just crushed Kelly's dreams.
It's a common trick.
I'll survive. Yeah.
Legolas also doesn't really jump on that horse like that.
What?
Wait, are these movies not real?
I'm so sorry.
But the orcs are still wet. Right? The orcs are really wet, right?
No, the water was added in post.
No.
All right, we're jumping back a little bit to Saruman. So Saruman is there, and he's monologuing a little bit. Gandalf the White, Gandalf the Fool. Good one, Saruman. You've been Sarah burned.
He's really
you turn over to his notebooks and they're all scribbled out. Like, Gandalf, no, that doesn't work. Gandalf, no, that doesn't work. Gandalf the fool, I've got it.
Yeah.
And
then
never mind.
go ahead, Matt.
No, I don't want to say it anymore.
No, Matt's got a bit. Matt's got a bit.
Oh, Matt, go. Is it about Grima?
No, I don't want to say it.
All right. Well, if the moment comes up a little bit more naturally, I want you to say it, but then tell us afterwards that that's what it was.
Yeah, you got it.
All right. Deal. So Wormtongue is now there, comes in creeping along, and he basically gives him the update that an elf, a man, and the dwarf walked into Rohan, and punchline.
And he really notices this ring. Yes. Like, we've been watching this movie now for 4.5 hours, and none of us, I would hazard to say, noticed this ring.
Yeah. No, he notices everything about it.
Saruman could not be less impressed. He's just like, Grima, why are you? He's so annoyed by his presence.
He tells him, you stink of horse.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I was with the horse people,
you
bro.
You told me to go there.
Yeah, I was doing your work.
Because the framing of it's so great. It's like we're looking at Saruman, we can see Wormtongue over Saruman's shoulder, and Saruman's like, you stink of horse. I really, really wanted Brad Dourif to just kind of like sniff his armpit just for like a second. Just give it like
a Mary Catherine Gallagher. I smell him like this.
Yeah, and Wormtongue looks so wet. Can we talk about how wet he looks now? He looks more wet than usual. I assume it's because he was on horseback for a while.
It's got to be sweat because it's obviously not bath water.
Yeah, it's hot. The Gondor sun, or the
he looks like the worst
sun.
Yeah, he looks like the worst professional wrestler. Like he's like
a jobber.
Soaking wet, like his hair is completely wet. It's just like, why are you so oily?
Like,
wet. Like,
I didn't notice how wet he was. I'm just gonna quickly rewatch.
So wet. It looks like he just got done crying. Like the amount of snot that's like kind of coming from his nose and his like mouth wetness. He's bleeding. It's like so many different kinds of liquids.
Like I believe Brad Dourif could like make himself like mucus on command.
Oh yeah,
like that. But it looks like they've got some sort of just mucus machine like his nose that they're just like pumping out clearly. It's so gross.
Somehow
it's fantastic.
Smallpox on the way. Yeah. So we have an elf, a man, and a dwarf. You stink like horse. And then he talking about the man that's with them and what he's wearing. And Saruman catches on to the man part. Talks about the ring. 2 serpents with emerald eyes, one devouring, the other crowned with golden flowers. And then Saruman is like, this ring sounds familiar.
He's so wet.
He looks so wet, right?
I don't know that I paid that much attention to it before. He's like, tears are coming out of his eyes.
Yeah.
Probably because Saruman was just really mean to him a minute ago.
He's definitely gonna win most wet, or maybe not. We'll check out these orcs later on. But that should be a category. Anyway,
the nominees for most wet so far.
No, it should just be wettest.
Grima Wormtongue, the orcs, and Matt when he finds out that Aragorn is doing the dime.
Yeah, I was gonna say Eowyn, but I like yours more. Less gross.
All right, yeah. So the Ring of Barahir. He checks his books, his ring books, and finds out that it's the Ring of Barahir. So Gandalf thinks he's found the heir of Gondor. He says something along the
Isildur's heir.
Isildur's heir, yeah. What an idiot. Fool. I said it the first time when the scene started. He is a fool.
You heard that burn earlier, right? You heard that.
Yeah. And then he blows it off. He's like, whatever. The world of men's going to fall anyway.
Saruman is like, he is falling apart so fast. Like he was doing so well, and now he's just getting like the slightest setbacks. He's like, it's just like, it just turns into a bratty kid.
Grima is like back in his space, and he's like spiraling out.
Fine. He's not. Let him find an heir. See if I care.
He's such a fool. Rohan. Anyway,
I'm best friends with Sauron. Sauron could kick his butt any day. Like Sauron's got a black belt in karate. Like
I'm on
no
speed
problem.
dial.
I would just
I look
imagine
in the
him
Palantir, he's on
looking,
the other end.
looking into the Palantir and being like, hey, Dad, I mean, Sauron.
I told you. It's like
Do
what's
not
it?
call me dad.
It's Ralph Wiggum and Miss Krabappel. Can I have more milk, Mommy? I'm not your. Oh, it's Miss Hoover. That's who it was. Can I have more milk, Mommy? I'm not your mother, Ralph. Miss Hoover. Check out The Simpsons. Good show. It's been on for a while. It will begin at Edoras. So
Yeah.
Great wide shot of Edoras. Few good wide shots, but this one with the Exodus, it's lovely, stunning.
It is.
Theoden is preparing to flee. Theoden, like he's a dinosaur.
Theodactyl.
Theodactyl.
Theodantus. Theoden is preparing to flee. This is not, he's just talking to himself like, this ain't defeat. We're coming back. We'll be back. Gambling, settle down. You have another shot at Eowyn. It's cool.
Still coming across super defensive. Like nobody said anything, Theoden. Like nobody said it was defeat. It's not defeat, okay? We're not retreating.
Well, to be fair, Gambling was moping. Poor Gambling doesn't get like any lines for the most part.
Yeah.
He's just kind of over emoting physically.
Yeah. And then he gets killed, right? Doesn't he get?
No, the other one.
Oh, yeah,
Does he get killed by wargs?
No, that was the other one.
The other one, who, by the way, great scream. If we have a nomination for best scream, I think that guy who got eaten by the warg, great scream.
So nominees for best scream are that guy gets killed by the warg and me with Aragorn in bed.
Most likely to sleep with Aragorn, Matt.
Aragorn when he breaks his toe, Matt when he found out that he really broke his toe.
We have the moment with Eowyn swinging the sword, clanging with Aragorn, talking about that badass Eowyn there. And I have in my notes that when she's talking, I don't know, this is probably discussed in the 60 years that this has been around, but the Rohirrim, people of Rohan, are very Viking-like in their beliefs, because what she's talking about, it's not that I've read anything about Viking, but I've watched, in the last 2 months, I've watched all of Vikings. I've watched The Last Kingdom twice. I watched the North. I've seen the Northmen.
You saw the Northmen?
It was okay. It was okay.
Yeah.
It's
too long.
Peacock.
Too long for folklore. Like,
yeah, it was okay. It was all right.
Could have been an exceptional hour-and-a-half movie.
Yeah,
that's what I said exactly.
Yes, I agree. But the beliefs, like her talking about what do you fear most, being caged and not being able to die a death of honor, which is all of that is just, it's all very, very Viking. So I'm sure there's some Viking elements in Tolkien here.
Except for the fact that the Vikings would have been like, Eowyn, suit up. Let's go to war.
That's what I was saying. Like Aragorn talks about her. He even refers to her as his shield maiden, which is from Viking, a Viking term they talk about with the women who do that. So yeah, very, very, very Viking-like.
Yeah, Rohan should have used their women more. We got some strong ass ladies in this, even that woman,
and they can all ride.
Who threw her 7-year-old on a horse to save the people? I mean, that's a pretty baller move.
It's too big for him. Yeah.
She sent Amal. So
yeah, agreed. So we have Wormtongue advising Saruman on what he believes Theoden will do. They will make for their refuge of Helm's Deep. They will flee with women and children, and you see that creepy eyebrow raising that Saruman does, and children.
I'd like to kill them.
Yeah, that sounds good and easy. And they will move slowly through the mountains. And send out your warg riders.
Oh, and then that creepy smile with the warg guy.
The war master.
The warg guy.
The warg orc.
The warg keeper. So let me ask the fellowship a question. Do you think that they had a better chance at Edoras than Helm's Deep?
No, I don't.
I don't think I don't know.
Seeing how things played out.
Edoras looks like it can be attacked from at least 3 sides.
Can be completely
Well,
surrounded.
they would have had the high ground, which is not. I mean, that's the only thing that mattered, I guess, in that.
But
Star
looks like
Wars
wood
movie.
fences, like those burn. They don't have like
Yeah.
pretty heavy duty walls.
And in terms of they needed stronger walls. When they got the reinforcements from the elves, they needed a place to put them, and for the elves to march in, they needed a place to protect their people, which was inside a mountain.
Right. Like, I'm not sure Edoras had that same kind of keep to put the women and children. Maybe they did. But yeah, it's interesting.
It's a great question, Kelly. I don't really know because would the battle have even been different?
Well, yeah. I mean, they were gonna go out to meet Saruman, right? Like that was the other plan.
Right, out to meet him.
Like they were gonna fight him at home in Edoras
to keep them away from.
Yeah, they're gonna try to keep them away.
Yeah, but fighting in like an open field with like no walls.
Yeah, but if you're the horseback kingdom, that's what you do and you're the best at
it. Horse cavalry is like the biggest thing, right? It's like
run right over those orcs.
Having horses is
like happen in Return of the King. They plow.
I wonder if the decision would have been different if
Eowyn and Éomer and his crew was
there. Because I mean that's it.
Well,
if you have that many horses, that's
Theoden says he's like, and they'll be at least 3 weeks ride away by that point or whatever it is. So like they can't help us. So like that's why he's like, we got to go to Helm's Deep.
If they had called all those horse lords and called all the Gondorians and been like, bring your horses, I think that and rode out to meet them. Yeah, I think
that would have been like option A.
I'm just also not sure that Gandalf and Aragorn even knew how many orcs were coming.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Nobody. Really knows.
And no scouts.
10,000 men was like is how many orcs are in Uruk-hai come to Helm's Deep, and that was like an unfathomable.
Do an army against 10,000.
What shed a tear when he saw them? Couldn't even believe it. So.
Love that moment.
Too late, Grima.
I don't know.
Another piece of wetness on his face.
He's always crying about something.
He's so wet. He has so much moisture.
He's so weepy.
Yeah.
He's such a piece of wet.
Yeah, send out your warg riders. So then we cut to, for the first time in this segment, Sam and Frodo. As Gollum fishes, having a good time. You got a hey stinker. Refers to him as Stinker. Frodo doesn't like it so much, chastises Sam for belittling Gollum. And then it's the moment where they're arguing a little bit. They're going at it. We're seeing some real friction between these two. The split beginning. You can't save him, Mr. Frodo. Frodo snaps at him. What do you know about it? Just out of seemingly nowhere. And
well, he actually
entrusted to me.
May I interrupt you, Mike?
Please do.
Is it okay if I ask you to do it? There's a line that stood out to me that I guess I didn't really think about it very much before, where Frodo says, I have to believe that Gollum can come back. And it's like, because if Gollum can come back, then that means like Frodo can come back.
Yeah.
Like, so if Gollum has a chance, then Frodo has a chance. And I never I guess it's kind of, it seems really obvious, but I had never made that connection before.
Frodo, this whole movie is struggling with what the ring is doing to him. And is he more like Smeagol or is he more like Sam? You know what I mean? And he's feeling that pull of the ring, that weight of the ring. And I just wish if he could just communicate that with Sam, maybe they wouldn't be so at ends, but maybe he can't even say it aloud. I don't know.
It's the ring. It's the power of the ring, it's going to divide you.
Ring of power there.
And he's not himself
their fight's
right now.
a classic kind of feel like sick, just old married couple kind of situation where you're so obsessed with your hobbies. You're all you do is just sit over there and play with your ring, and that's all you do. You're never paying attention. We never talk like we used to.
Yeah, all fair points.
Is that how you and Nicole fight?
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, she's just like,
you're podcasting again tonight.
I know.
You haven't finished the movie yet.
It's changing you.
It's mine. It's all my podcast.
Mine alone.
And then you slowly turn around.
And then she's like, do you know who you sound like? Just like in the movie. Do you know who you sound like? Gollum. Sounds like Gollum.
Sounds like,
I guess what he's getting at. Yeah. Then we have Smeagol and Gollum again, talking about Master, and they're having that Gollum Smeagol back and forth. You don't have any friends. Nobody likes you. Murderer. And
That murderer line got me because I mean it's been about 500 years since he killed his brother, cousin, friend.
Cousin, I think.
Who was Deagle? Cousin. It's been about five.
cousin.
It's been the better part of 500 to 600 years, and he still blamed like hurts for it.
Yeah. We
sad.
survived because of me. Not anymore. We have Master. And then he just gets that leave now, never come back. What? Leave now, never come back. Excuse me? Leave now, never come back. And he does.
I love the back and forth there. He has two really funny lines in it where he's like, "My master is my friend," and then Gollum says something.
You haven't no friends.
And then he just goes, "No." He just says no once really quick, and, no, and it's like a quick cut to murderer.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Fran Walsh wrote this scene. I think it was like her idea to be like, oh, let's have like a Smeagol Gollum conversation.
That's fun.
I kind of
shout out to Fran if
kind
that's
of have
true.
mixed feelings about it actually. I like kind of love that it exists, and I love seeing this like because you never know what's before this like how Smeagol thinks.
Right.
Like or how Gollum thinks, and seeing it as like two distinct personalities I think is really important. And I kind of love that moment where they show him kind of turning and like, you know, then you can see how he's like assuming the two body language things. But I never can tell if it's supposed to be funny or if it's supposed to be like really tragic. And I never know. I feel so uncomfortable during it. And maybe that's the point of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's like everything. I think it's like, yeah. I laugh at it and I don't feel like bad for like laughing at like I'm like that's fun. That's a funny way to like just deliver a line.
What a hilarious predicament he's in.
but then it's like, but then it is sad when and then like when he like first says leave now and never come back, and he's like kind of like just giving it a go, and he's like trying to emphasize, and then like he says it again, and he's like his eyes get all big, and he's like, leave now and never come back. He's like,
it works.
Like he has this power. I'm like, yay, Smeagol, he's great.
Smeagol is free, brings them a rabbit.
A brace of conies.
You'll make them sick is what you'll do. Yeah, there's only one way to eat a brace of conies. Stupid fat hobbit. We have the tater scene, classic. I'll include the link again to the Boilem Mashem Stickeminastew.
The stew looks good.
So good. And I saw
he used
this
his salt. Do you think he used his Shire salt?
Oh, I would imagine he did. And then there's like some nice herbs in there. I saw this meme that maybe y'all have seen, but it's like I always think about how they were never able to eat that stew because they make it and then they just walk away and they never get to enjoy it. And it's like, damn, that's so true. And it looks so good. The conies, yeah, just
oh my god, that's I never thought about it.
Yeah,
oh, that's really sad.
That raw.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. He goes. It's so gross.
Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Sounds so wet.
Yeah.
Wettest episode so far.
Yes. Wet and wild.
It truly is wet and wild.
We get two stews. We get another stew.
Frodo off watching Sauron's troops march. He hears like a bird and just goes wandering off. And then he sees the troops on the march, which we see I don't think we see them until Return of the King, this particular group, right?
I think so.
Or at least these people and the Oliphants. Gollum fills them in on his plans. He knows all. He's got his ear to the grindstone, or no, it's nose to the grindstone, ear to the ground. What am I mixing up here?
You got it on the second.
Nose to the grindstone, ear to the ground. Yeah.
Ear to the ground. Yeah, both.
I'm not good at saying, so I don't know.
Yeah, let out the dragon. Yes. So he knows everything that's going on. So he must have had his ears wide open when he was getting tortured for the Shire Baggins moment. We see an Oliphant. The Shire will never believe this. And the troops come under attack by Faramir and friends, who then capture those three.
I have 3 thoughts on this that I didn't prepare ahead of time just while you were talking. one, biggest elephants I've ever seen, ever.
Massive.
Two, that army took down so many people. That was so smart. What a good war move. Three,
Good war move.
a good war move. What a good strategy. Strategy is the word I think I'm thinking of. Three, why does Faramir have an entirely different accent than his brother?
Work that brain out. Sorry.
It's gonna drive me nuts. I know and the hobbits all have different accents, and for some reason I'm so okay with that. But just when Faramir showed up and started talking in that like posh British accent, I was like, that's not Sean Bean.
I bet that Denethor sent Faramir to like boarding school.
or the opposite, where Boromir was like doing cool shit and he was being sent to do like the Lord's biddings, and then maybe Faramir has like the local Gondorian towny accent.
He had like
Surfer
one.
accent.
He had like a tutor, like an old posh Gondorian tutor who just like kept him in a room all day.
Yeah.
A very fancy au pair, maybe.
If you will.
Matt, call me crazy, but you give me Faramir vibes a little bit. Have you ever gotten that?
Like the untrustworthy, the less likable mother.
Inferior to your brother.
In the end comes through, but
You always walk around like you have some kind of complex.
Yeah.
Anyone ever told you that?
Yeah,
I guess
I am a little brother, so you're right.
I think just physically, not like your
You think he's David
dynamics.
No, but you're not far off base, because I do get every white guy that has long hair and a beard, and I'm told I look like them. So yeah, but Faramir, yeah, I could see it. And
I'll
I'll
say
take
a little fair.
There's a similarity to the noses a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, I could see the noses. You do look exactly like that guy from Black Mirror.
Wyatt Russell, I don't see it. Again, I will take it because I would love to be.
I think
the one where he's like mad. They like put the haunted house into his head.
Wyatt Russell, wasn't he?
That was really
also-
scary.
He's in Marvel now, right?
Yeah, he's the agent.
Agents.
That's literally you.
U.S. agent.
Oh,
Yes.
I know someone who looks more like Matt, like a celebrity. I have to.
It's
I have to
Matt
look him-
Classic Madoff.
Classic.
Okay,
Matt.
if you're listening,
Bernie
send us a
Madoff.
picture of someone you think looks like Matt.
I
And we're
actually
gonna
think
make a whole.
AJ De Leon found the most close one, which is the
Most
guy
Matt?
from Mount Joy, the band Mount Joy. There's a guy in there who does look a lot like me.
All right. Well, we'll look it up.
I'll find the guy later and I'll send it to the Slack.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Faramir, as they are captured, is spitting some truth about war, because he's like, hey, he was an enemy, and he's like, he was an enemy. I bet he had just as much thought he was doing the right thing as you are right now. War is terrible. And it's like he doesn't want to be doing any of this. Yeah. Stacey right now is showing us a photo of
Mount Joy.
said person.
It does look like
and,
Matt.
it
Oh,
checks
let me
out.
see.
We have,
let me see. This is important visual stuff.
we have
That's
the
yeah.
Rohirrim on the road.
He has more baby
Um,
fat though.
And then we see some dwarf women conversation, and hopefully we'll see them in the Rings of Power a little bit more.
This was really sweet. Eowyn has a great laugh. It's the
Great
first time
laugh.
we've heard
Yeah.
her laugh. She
And
seems to be-
Gimli is being so charming.
yeah. And it's a smart
Wolf
move.
women.
If you like a guy, go hang out with one of his friends and
Yes.
buddy up to them. That's I know that move.
Mhm.
It works so well.
It's some intel at the same time. Yeah.
It's a
Uh,
wild tonal shit. If you're watching it on Blu-ray, it's the first scene on disc 2 on the Blu-ray, and it's a wild tonal shift to go from disc 1 to disc 2, because you're like, oh my gosh, Sam, Frodo, who are they captured by? It's so tense. Then you walk into this weird comedic beat with Gimli falling off.
They're like a traveling theater troupe, like
This
crack a
was
joke.
deliberate. Did I skip too far ahead? Like what happened?
Yeah, this was deliberate. This was
It was
deliberate. It's like Gimli. The more you say that, the more people are gonna know it was a mistake.
It's really funny.
Mhm.
Though.
There's a quick
Most deliberate.
conversation between Theoden and Aragorn, where he's also kind of talking up. He's shipping them a little bit.
What do you think of my
Aragorn
niece?
and yeah, talking about her, and is like, oh, by the way, here's some horrible things that happened in her life, so she could really use you.
She could really use a kingly type.
Her
Yeah,
father
and
was
her
killed by
dad
orcs,
was
her
a
mom
real.
died of grief.
And an uncle who should have raised her like a daughter or something like that. He says something like that, right?
Yeah,
Heads are
don't be
falling off.
self-deprecating. Just be better, Theoden.
Mm-hmm.
Theoden has so much guilt. He like has so much weight and guilt and
Oh my
just so much on his back, it seems.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's troubled. He could use a therapist.
Yeah, he's troubled, my friends.
He should get on BetterHelp.
Yes.
No, I hear they sell your information to third parties.
BetterHelp.
The sponsor.
Oh shit.
Use
Stacey,
code fellowship.
Actually,
zip
there's
it.
another therapy app that you guys should be using. It's
Just
called
read
What's on Your
roll.
Mind.
It's my app.
We have the
I started it. It's just me. Call me anytime.
have the stew moment where we were talking about a little while ago. So our second stew,
Second stew.
it's no good.
Ew.
And apparently Gimli has had some because he's walking. He's like, "Hey, you want some stew?" And she's like, "No, I couldn't do it." Oh, I really couldn't do it.
I think he just smelled it. Like he kind of like went, no,
Nope.
nope.
What do we
Nope.
think is in this stew that is so awful?
Vinegar, piss.
Yeah, you can't
Sweat.
mess up stew that badly.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
But
is
it
like,
seems to be maybe the meat got rancid or whatever it was, you know, like the thing
Overseasoned.
the first thing that Aragorn eats looks like
it looks like an eyeball.
it looks like
Like
wet fish,
wet-
right?
like
Like
red.
uncooked
Yeah.
uncooked fish or something. And it does look like an eyeball.
Yeah, something like cartilagey or like very
It looks wet for being in stew. Like for you know what I mean? Like it
yeah, it looks really chewy.
Overboiled. It's like pasta. It's
is.
been in there too long. Get it out.
It is in liquid, yet somehow appears to be too wet.
too wet. It's too wet for the stew. And
Honestly, that's gonna
slimy.
win the wettest because it's
Aragorn's
too
bite of stew is too wet.
It's actually too wet. It's
Yeah.
not.
That is a good wet
Aragorn-
take though, Stacey. When Aragorn drinks the stew, that's a good wet take.
It's
Yeah.
too wet.
And he's polite about it. Although if I was her, there would be no question whether he liked it or not because he was
Yeah, right.
he
So
was like
obvious.
gagging.
She can't read body language. It's not her strength.
And she like prefaced the stew with it isn't much, but it's hot. So even she knows it's not good. Also, like, why would you serve someone something and then watch them eat when you know it's not good? It's like, what kind of
Can't run away.
torture are you trying
Yeah,
to put yourself through? Yeah, like eat the stew and I don't want to see you like ever again.
And
tries to
Aragorn
dump
doesn't
it
even
out.
he doesn't even sell it on the like look up and smile. Like it's clear as day. You do not like that soup, good sir.
No,
Yeah.
that's holding his mouth into a frown.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite lines from Aragorn is the it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's very, very
then the-
Jim Carrey.
And then
It's
the
very
face
funny.
he makes when he's trying to pour it and it burns his hands and she comes
So
back to talk to him. He
Yeah.
like braces his face and I'm like, oh, so he's a comedy actor in this
It's
part.
really
Dude,
funny.
he's nailing it.
Sells it well.
Nailing it.
And that
Yeah.
soup looks hot. That stew looks hot as hell.
Hot as fuck. Hot as soup.
I heard he really burned his hand, guys. That was
And
a
then
real
broke his toe.
reaction.
Yeah. Then
He's got real
hot-
third-degree burns.
His fingers were blistering and he was like, keep going. Keep
They
the
had
cameras on.
to, they had to hold the shoot for a couple weeks.
That's where we have
Holy
the conversation with those two. I heard you rode to war with Thengel. That couldn't be true. That would mean you're 60. No, not 70. Not
It cannot be 80.
We're not a numbers
87.
gal.
It's like the
Yeah.
Princess Bride, not to 50.
Yeah, one of the Dunedain, a descendant of Numenor, which we are apparently going to see in the Rings of Power in its glory, blessed with a long life. And there's a few thousand of us left, I think he said, he said some number. I can't remember what it was. The Northern Kingdom was destroyed long ago, so that'll be cool, and we'll get to see that in the Rings of Power. We have Aragorn on the pipe, hearing Arwen talk, and then we have that dream sequence with those two and Elrond getting in there. What are your thoughts there?
It's starts out pretty steamy for a dream. You know, they start making out.
We
and,
talking, is this a wet nomination?
oh,
Eh?
absolutely.
Eh?
Lead me to the punchline. Absolutely.
I love the line. This is a dream, then it is a good dream. I have like thought of that since the day I watch it. I like think about it all the time. It like always comes up.
Would you like write it on your binder in high school?
No, that was exclusively song lyrics, Kelly.
Sorry, so sorry.
You would combine it like life is but a, with that other quote, like life is but a dream, and you're like, if it's a dream, it is a good dream. You put that on your binder, then
Life is but a dream is from Row 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 Your Boat.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that Rover?
So not those kinds of songs.
Is it?
So not quite those song lyrics, different ones.
Now we know
maybe
Matt's
different
favorite
ones.
song.
In my head, life is but a dream was like some poet I couldn't figure out. It's a fucking row
Yeah.
your boat. In my head, it was Robert Frost.
It might have been. I don't know.
Yeah,
who wrote
maybe
that song.
Robert Frost wrote that.
That's Life is but a dream. Camptown races. She'll be coming around the mountain.
London Bridge is falling down. Stacey, I agree. That is a lovely line. And
Oh.
so don't get me wrong. This is a lovely dream sequence. I'm kind of like, it's kind of boring. I'm kind of like,
It's funny you said that because I was watching in haste to get here, and they started kissing, and I hit the plus 15 seconds, and they were still kissing
Mhm.
after 15 seconds. I was
yeah,
like,
it's a
"Huh,
little
okay."
slow. It's a little, yeah, it's fine. And I'm just not sure it's offering us that much new information.
I did
like,
like
all
their
right.
breakup scene though. They
And I
could,
think
I
that's
think they couldn't have
extended.
just gone to the breakup scene. I think that they had to have a little bit of love between them first, or else you're gonna think they're just done with Eowyn coming on board. And I always
It's
liked
also-
Aragorn and Arwen, so I mind watching it. But you're right, like they're on their way to action. It does kind of slow down this segment. But I love the breakup scene where
Yeah.
she's like, "Why are you saying this?" And you're like, "Aragorn, why are you saying?"
I do love that delivery of Liv Tyler's of like, why are you saying this?
Yeah.
Yeah, who put you
I
up to
think
this?
She
I think
does
you
a great
couldn't
job here.
have Liv Tyler though, like if when you're releasing these movies like 3 years apart, like you don't want Liv Tyler to like show up just in Return of the King. Like you want her to pop up again at some point, and so
Totally.
not the cleanest way to get it in there, and we got to do like some flashbacks that are too long and slows it down a little bit, I think. But it's
Yeah.
like I'd rather have it than not, you know.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think you can
Agreed.
have that many flashbacks, right? So you kind of have to have one
Yeah.
longer one. And they were talking about the Even Star. So it was on his mind, right? She's like, "Who's that woman?" He's thinking about her.
Yeah.
And then we didn't even mention we get finally an Aragorn smoking pipe by the fire scene, which we hadn't seen in so long. So I'm glad that he's using again.
It's also reminiscent of when he's singing about Arwen.
Yes.
and
So
Fellowship. So it's kind of
she's-
like
And if he's
going around
going
again
he's
about
going into Helm's Deep thinking he's gonna die, because I mean the odds aren't good. He just had the conversation with Gandalf, so I think it's appropriate to have it here as
Yeah.
opposed to anywhere else.
And it also
Absolutely.
plays into the rom-com angle
Yeah.
of things, with him trying to, in that triangle there, and then the father that wants his daughter to go into the family business, and she's like,
Of
"I don't
going
wanna
to
go
the
family
Greyhaven."
business," and pulls in the boyfriend for the private talking to that says, "You are too much. You're gonna ruin her life. This, that, and the other thing. So you got to break it off." And he tries to do it, and she's having none of it.
And he was trying to sneak off first thing in the morning, and she was all
Mhm.
completely dressed and done up, and she's like, "Where are you going?"
Peeking through her elf blinds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Where you going?
He tries to give the necklace back.
Yeah. He really
That's
tries to do what
Like
Elrond wanted.
that's such a move, and just her line of "keep it."
It was a
She
gift.
kills in this scene, honestly.
Yeah, she
It is
nails
a
it.
gift. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I enjoyed the scene. I thought it fit just fine. It was a little bit slow. That's fine. And then
I
we cut
will
back
say,
to-
oops, sorry.
Okay.
That flashback was a really nice reminder that the elf ear prosthetics look incredible. Incredible. There was a really nice shot of Arwen's ear, just such good prosthetics.
When
Back
he
to
kind of
Arwen's ear, a Lord of the Ring podcast.
when he kind of like rolls his forehead on hers. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, and they're
Yeah.
very, very close, and
They're so close.
Oh, amazing. You can't
Looks
see
good.
where the
No.
prosthetic is. Such
Nope.
good blending.
Yeah. Then we cut back to him finally answering Eowyn, because she asks him like, who gave you that thing? And he drifts off into the dream sequence
Like
for
15 minutes.
yeah. And she's like, my lord,
Yeah.
hello.
Earth to Aragorn.
I like that.
And
I
there's
like
just,
that
like-
we do get that instead of just him answering. Like I
Yeah.
like that they acknowledge in the movie that he's been gone a while.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh, she's sailing into the Undying Lands. So, hello.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah. Yeah. She's
Ugh.
with all that is left of her kin. And then we move on. Lastly, last scene, and it is the Rohirrim on the road to Helm's Deep. And we get the big battle there.
These wargs, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to hit on another fandom here. Don't they kind of look like the creatures at the end of the first Hunger Games movie?
Didn't see it, and if I did, they would look. Those creatures would look like the Lord of the Rings.
The wargs from the Lord.
That's
of
what I'm
the
saying.
Rings.
That's when I
Yeah.
watched it, I was like, those look like wargs. And now
Gotcha.
let me see if I'm remembering it right though.
I really don't remember. I just remember that movie. I remember hating that movie, the
Mm.
first Hunger Games,
Hunger Games.
and I liked the books, but we'll save
Oh,
that for another podcast.
They're called mutts. Mutts.
Checks out.
Hunger Games.
Love the build
Like
up.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
less
Yeah.
hairy, more dog like.
The music building up to the fight, right, is amazing, because then it cuts out right when the horses and the wargs collide, and it's such an
Mhm.
effective device to just like throw you into a battle sequence and also make like the violence like hit, and it's scary, and the horses and the wargs, they hit each other so fast. It's so
Mhm.
upsetting for the horses. I mean,
That's
they're
intense. They
that's
like
scary.
I don't know how to like properly say this, but they like change spots. Like the horses are then where the wargs are. You know what I mean? They like
Yeah.
whiplash. And I don't know how to even like, what are the English words for that?
And they blend, the front lines blend.
Yeah, they like
Mesh.
blend and then
Mesh
like
together.
mesh together. Yeah. I guess crash. They crash together.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then you just hear like the thumping of like the paws of the wargs.
Yeah.
And let's shall we note Legolas's little moment?
His
beautiful.
move.
Cool. The coolest
Shooting the
thing.
arrows as the army comes up behind him, and then just grabbing on, whipping around on top. Beautiful.
I think that maybe is my favorite Legolas stunt of the trilogy. It looks so awkward, and I think that's part of why it makes it look like so cool. It's like the wrong side.
I can't stand it. I hate it.
It's
His
weird.
hand isn't even grabbing anything. It's
He-
like his hand is
he
just on the
starts-
horse.
He starts
with
to
the
whip
open
to the
palm.
left. He starts to whip to the left, right? He grabs
But
with his
then-
right hand. He grabs the front of the horse's, the I don't know, apparatus with his right hand. He starts to swing to the left, and then somehow
Propels
swings back
himself.
around to the right, and then goes up. And it's like, why didn't he just follow that momentum through the initial way that he started going? And it looks CGI and not great. But it
They
is
could have
cool as
they
hell.
could have done it. Okay, what's your favorite Legolas move? That when he's skating down the shield shooting people at Helm's Deep,
That's my favorite.
or when he
I can't wait to get to it.
what was it when he stabs the guy with the arrow, pulls
And then takes it
and
out.
releases it? Because I think that's my favorite, and
that
that's so
one's
simple.
really cool. That one's
Oh,
really, really
simple.
cool.
Only
There's also the elephant. Yeah.
Oh, all
And
the-
that still only
all the-
counts
or
as
the
one.
cave troll, 2 arrows to the top of the head on the cave troll too. Oh, when he runs up the chain of the cave troll and then shoots him in the head. That might be my favorite Legolas stunt.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I love the skateboarding down the steps
I
on
know
a
you do.
shield.
Oh,
Flips
You-
off.
I used to
Right.
like that, and now I think it is so dumb.
Okay,
But you
well,
like this one more than
shit
that
on
one.
my taste. What I'm sure.
Now I do. I know. No, it's cool, but it's just like it's too contemporary, right? Like it's too contemporary. Like he's not Tony
I don't know,
Hawk.
'cause Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's skateboarding. It's more like skimboarding, I guess, than anything, which is maybe arguably even more contemporary. I don't know. I like that it's not CG. Like, I like that it seems to be practical.
He's on a string,
and it just looks cool. It's just a cool stunt. And then he pulls out the swords immediately after, and that's the first good double sword stuff we get with him, and he does some cool stuff with it. So
In that scene, he like becomes a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. It's very I love Ninja Turtles, so that explains it.
Sue me. I like the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. We could talk about. We should just have an episode for Legolas stunts, because I think we've got
should be
things to
There's
say.
a category at the end, best Legolas stunt, and we can really talk about this.
Trilogy has been done. Yep.
Yes, Daddy.
Okay, Dad.
Once you finish your dinner.
That was great.
Let's wrap this up.
All right, Mike. Jeez.
All right.
So,
Then
we can't do
Aragorn
it
falls
now.
off a cliff.
Can't do it now. Yeah. Eowyn's watching Aragorn ride off. Legolas shooting arrows at the army as they ride up behind him.
He
Swings
gives
around
her
to the horse.
a look.
Oh, he fucks her with his eyes.
Oh.
They sneak in a little
He gives
eye
her
fuck.
A look.
His hair's like blowing in his face. Her hair is blowing in her
A little
face.
slow. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
The battle itself. Yeah, I think Matt, you mentioned this a little bit already, but the sound mixing in general, I thought was like
Great.
perfect throughout.
Yeah.
We have one of the things where we first see, I think it's when we kind of first see the competition of kills between Legolas and Gimli. It's not quite there, but it's starting, and it's like, that one counts as mine. So there's like the birth of that little rivalry as they go around. Gimli gets trapped under the warg, and then the orc, and then the other orc, saved by Aragorn,
Although
who then
his
gets
move-
knocked off his horse.
The first move that Gimli does is super cool. Like, because when the guy's on top of him and about to kill him, you expect a sword to come from behind, but he just reaches up and cracks his neck. That is so freaking cool.
The unexpected.
Mhm.
And then Aragorn has to come and do the sword thing at the last minute, but because
Yeah.
that's such an overused thing. But at least we see him coming, and it's not just like, is Gimli about to die? But the reach up and the neck crack, so good.
So Aragorn
That is cool.
gets knocked off his horse and dragged over a cliff.
This is not my favorite part of the Two Towers.
You know he's fine.
I don't think
Do
it was
we?
necessary.
We
It was
won't know
not
till
in the
next week.
books.
Right. I remember waiting for it in the books. I'm like, doesn't Aragorn like kind of die for a second?
It's just kind of an unnecessary scene.
I'm good with it.
Yeah,
It's like
it was-
we already had a Gandalf. We thought Gandalf was dead moment. It's like, do we really need another
don't think
one with
it- I don't
Aragorn?
even
It
think they
was
milk it
really
that
well
much.
done for what
Right.
it was, but I don't see why Aragorn needed to go off the cliff. Why couldn't they have just
One
ended
and
it
then moved
there?
on.
Yeah.
It kind of deepens the Legolas Gimli friendship a little bit once he does come back, because Legolas is we see Legolas like just so sad when he thinks he's dead, and then
Mhm.
this is we're going to next episode territory here, but he also seems relieved and stuff. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for him.
I'm fine with
Yeah.
it, but I agree with you. It's maybe not like the most necessary addition
Yeah.
to the books. Yeah.
And maybe
I
he
agree.
is dead. Maybe he's dead. We won't know until next week.
Maybe he's
we
dead. Whenever
hit
you
that
look over
part.
the cliff and you see a river and nothing else, it's like, I mean, what are we even doing here? Like,
Yeah.
don't lie to me.
It's gone. It's finished. Yeah, that is our episode. Any final thoughts before we get to winners and losers?
Segment I always remember. Nope.
Oh my
No other final
god.
thoughts. I will say Gimli, they run into this problem throughout, kind of sometimes Gimli looking effective fighting some enemies because he's so small and that like he can't move well. Him
Mhm.
fighting the orcs though is maybe the
Yeah.
most egregious example. I'm like, Gimli, you're dead. Like these are just gonna run over you. They're gonna beat you in one bite. Your little arms aren't gonna be have enough force to even do any damage to these huge dog monsters. I don't know.
Yeah. Still enjoyable to watch.
So good.
All right, before we get to winners and losers, then I will mention that if you are on the internet, which just about everybody is, and you want to take a sketch class or a sketch comedy class or a stand-up class, I should say, you can do that. Go to xroadscomedy.com. We got classes enrolling online, and we also posted some new classes for in-person in Philly, one of which taught by our own Kelly Conrad. So if you want to learn from Kelly, learn some improv, the basics of improv, here in Philly, go to xroadscomedy.com. That class starts in mid-September. And if you're in the Indianapolis area, I still have a class enrolling with some spots left, which begins in mid-July. And that will do it for the plug session. Oh, I should mention shows. Jesus, come on, Mike. We have shows coming up July 13th through the 17th in Philly once again, including Not Yet Rated, an improvised movie study hall comedy inspired by lectures, extra comedy inspired by the news, and a bunch of other things which feature students and other performers throughout the city of Philadelphia. Go to xroadscomedy.com. Winners and losers. We'll start with the losers. Stacy.
Yes. Everybody's checking to see if their podcast stopped on their app.
There's a couple. There's a couple. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Sam, even more than Frodo. I would say Sam and Frodo together, but if I had to pick one, I'd say Sam because Frodo's snapping at him. He didn't get to eat his soup. He's been taken. He's been abducted. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Don't cry, Stacy. Don't cry.
Your face is soaking wet with tears, like a Wormtongue.
What are you, Wormtongue?
Matt, who's your loser?
My loser. He may have claimed Aragorn and killed the heir of Isildur, but Saruman behaves like such a freaking loser. That he's getting my loser nomination because he's just so bent at it, coming up with terrible burns.
He has a roommate now that he doesn't like.
So petty.
He loved living alone.
Yeah,
and
now he's boarding with
Grim is like leaving the
like horse. And
he smells
wet as hell.
He's leaving cabinets open when he cooks. He's like not flushing the toilet.
Yeah. So what? I'm still gonna destroy the world of men. Idiots. Yes, Kelly.
I feel like this section is even more challenging to pick a loser and winner because like so much happens. But I think my loser is the Rohirrim rider who got their face not gambling, which I know they have a name. Yeah. So that's rough. I feel like that character had some good FaceTime, and then now he's faceless. Am I right? And why am I roasting someone who died? But yeah, I think he's my loser.
Yeah. That was my loser as well.
Sorry, Mike.
I will throw I will throw out another one just for the hell of it. And that is Gimli, for the reasons Matt previously mentioned, but specifically within this section, he couldn't really do any fighting and just kind of got trapped under things and had to watch most of it. Yeah, just
falling off a lot of horses.
Yeah.
Guys, we didn't see Merry and Pippin in this segment at all.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't.
No. And let's hit those winners. Kelly.
So, sorry, I choked on my own air.
Your own air?
Tasted a little bit of a grima there.
Are you feeling a little dry right now?
I know. I need a little spritz. So
Mama
I think
Warbucks over here with her own air.
Should I know that reference? Is that from like
Annie.
the 1900s?
It's from Annie.
Just referencing
Daddy
what you
Warbucks.
just said is all.
I've actually never.
You've never seen Annie?
I've never seen Annie all the way through. Annie's one of the more annoying musicals, and I love musicals.
So obnoxious.
Yeah, I think
it's fun to watch.
I should watch it.
Is The Orphan Annie.
Yeah, my loser is Annie.
It's
no, my
too
winner...
much like my life.
Oh, I'm not an orphan. My winner is Eowyn. I think Eowyn is getting in some hot flirting. She has no idea that it's, not going to go anywhere. But I think she does seem really happy. She seems very glowy. And it's nice that she has it's healthy to have someone to flirt with
Totally
period.
agree. Could not
You know?
agree
Yeah.
more, Kelly.
Yeah, just it's a healthy flirt, and I think our girl needs it.
And beyond that, she like really finds herself. She starts laughing again.
Yeah.
She's helped saving people.
Yes. Even though she wants to fight, but hey, you know, someone needed to do that. Someone needed to like show the people. So
yeah.
Matt.
My winner is he was 2 and now he's 1. He was bad. Now he's good. He's got friends now. He's got a master. It's your boy, Smeagol. I mean, we should make wrestler announcements for those. I'm not kidding.
What an intro.
Yeah. And Stacy.
I might have used this last week. I can't remember. I'm going to say those 2 kids who made it via horseback. I know they technically made it in the previous segment, but they were also there at the beginning of this segment.
Eating some stew.
They continued to hang around.
I can't tell you how impressive it is to send a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old out on a horse. They might have been older. They might have been like 10 and 12, but regardless.
How old is West? How old is West now?
West will be 4 in a little over a month.
Eowyn and Freda.
He could never. So they must
put him on a horse and ride to the next town.
He could never. But that was really brave of them, and they did a really good job. And they were the reason why they, knew the enemy was coming. So winners.
Wild men were roaming the Westfold.
Plus Kelly took
burning
mine.
as they go.
Kelly took mine, and I couldn't think of another one. So
that was a good one. Speaking of horses, my winner is Brago. Brago, who was calmed down, soothed by Aragorn, son of Arathorn, and then freed. So he got to retire. Now he's off enjoying his retirement.
Yeah, because
not for long.
PTSD.
Yeah, well, he didn't have to go back into war. It's now post. It's not.
What do you mean not for long, Kelly?
Stress disorder.
He is the horse that rescues Aragorn.
Oh, right. This is why I don't like this whole bit. I don't like any part of it. That's so
because I forget. I'm like, oh shit, it's Brago. I forget that he sets him free
because he's a kingly horse.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been Bill. It should have been the pony Bill coming to save Aragorn.
Missed opportunity. To
a
bring
girl
back
can
Bill.
dream. All them together.
Could you imagine him getting his face licked and waking up and being like, Bill?
But first he's half asleep. He's like, get out of here, Grima. Go on.
They were gonna say,
so wet.
I would love for Bill to just be there, but not be of service. Like he's just following Draco
Aragorn
around.
Aragorn has to walk him back. Oh my God, I can't even write
Oh, I miss Bill.
Poor Bill. All right.
Bill.
That'll do it for
Wait, Mike,
this.
Who's your winner?
Brago, the one.
Oh, Brago. Sorry.
It launched you all.
I fell asleep. Sorry. It was so boring.
Boring. You talked about it for 10 minutes.
I know. It was the opposite of boring. It was so exciting.
That'll do it for this episode of The Beacons Are Lit, a Lord of the Rings podcast. We'll be back with episode 5 of our coverage of the Two Towers soon. So like and subscribe and smash buttons, whatever the kids say. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Matt. Thank you all for listening. Bye.
Bye.